Hello everyone. This is the 9th part of the story, I'm Voldemort. Chapter 68 Science. Master, it's time to wake up. Mimsy called as she popped into Tom's room in Camartage. Tom awoke with a complicated look on his face. I'm awake, Mimsy. Tom says as he sits up and rubs the sleep out of his eyes. Good morning, Master. Mimsy says with a bright smile. Morning, Mimsy. Tom says as he stands and stretches his body. After doing the usual exercises, Tom cleaned himself up and got some breakfast. Once his stomach was full, he went looking for the Ancient One to speak about his dream. He found her lying on a sofa, eating chips and reading a mystery novel. Hey, I had this weird dream last night that probably wasn't a dream at all. Tom says as he storms in and sits across his teacher. Good morning to you as well, Tom. She says sarcastically and closes her book. What was the dream that probably wasn't a dream about exactly? It was about the snake god, Manasa. She asked me to be her avatar in the mortal plane. Tom says. Huh? That's very generous of her. I've met a few avatars in my day and they're all pretty strong. Most of them were avatars of the spider god though. Did you accept? The Ancient One asks. No, we ran out of time and every word she said seemed to pile on more questions I needed to ask. Tom replies. Good, find out everything before giving your answer. These types of things always come with a cost. Find out what that cost is before giving your answer. Then it all rides on if you're willing to pay it. After talking with the Ancient One, Tom decided to just go about his summer and worry about the avatar stuff later. He will ask Manasa about everything when they meet again. The next night, Tom didn't meet Manasa like he thought he would. Neither did he dream of her for the rest of the summer. While waiting for their next meeting, Tom decided to start studying Muggle science. He sent his elves to university campuses to collect books on biology, chemistry, physics, design technology, along with anything else that caught his eye. While Tom was reading and memorizing any and every university book brought to him, he sent elves out to look for Howard Stark. It's about time I learn about Vitarays. Tom thought as he gave the order. Halfway through the summer, one of Tom's elves found Howard at a military base researching with a young Hank Pym. Tom had the elves pop him there while under a notice me not spell. He then spent a good portion of time plundering everything from both Pym and Stark's minds. At this point in time, the Pym particles were only a thought and Tom got almost no information on them, but he did get everything he needed to know about Vitarays. With the knowledge on the super soldier serum and Vitarays, Tom only needs to continue his studies. At the moment, he has a pile of information that he can't decipher. The only thing that will help understand everything is studying. Before leaving, Tom put a small detail of elves to watch both Stark and Pym. The future will change, so it's best to keep watch of as many high-level people as possible. When Tom returned from plundering the minds of two of the most intelligent scientists alive, he went straight back to studying. Throughout the summer, he would get calls from followers through the mark. Some with problems that were easily solved and others from people like Druella, who just wished to say hello and talk for a bit. Before the summer ended, Tom made up his mind to start collecting the Deathly Hallows. He knew who possessed them and would try to get one of them before returning to Hogwarts. The Resurrection Stone. Tom thought as he remembered the Gaunt family ring from the movie. It should be the stone on the ring, but where can I find good old Uncle Morphin? The Gaunt shack perhaps? With a thought, Tom contacted all graduated Slytherins and ordered them to a gathering on the outskirts of Little Hangleton. He made sure to advise them to dress for a fight and bring their wands. With that done, he set the meeting time for tomorrow at midnight. After giving the graduates their orders, Tom contacted Druella through the mark. Hey, Drew. You busy? Tom asks through the mark. No, what's up? She replies. Want to come to Little Hangleton to meet my crazy uncle tomorrow? Tom asks. Sure, I guess, but why are you visiting your barmy uncle? She asks questioningly. You'll see tomorrow. Tom says and gives her the time and place to meet. The next day, Tom did his morning training and studied Muggle science for the rest of the day. Once midnight came, Tom had Mimsy pop him to a secluded place just outside Little Hangleton. Tom then uses the mark to transmit his location, and followers start appearing all around him. I need to start learning apparition. Having elves do the work for me is nice, but the power to teleport is too cool not to learn myself. Tom thought as he sees them all apparate in themselves. Once everyone arrived, Drusilla appeared last with a curious look. So, why are we all here to meet your uncle? Drusilla asks, expecting an answer this time. We are going to kill my crazy, racist, and all-around scummy Uncle Morphin Gaunt. Tom says with a happy smile. What? Drusilla exclaimed. You're related to the Nutty Gaunts? That's all that you took from him announcing the killing of his uncle? Druilla's brother, Briar, asks with a wry smile. Well, it's not like the world will miss the man. I mean, even though they may be related to Slytherin, there hasn't been a right-minded Gaunt in ages. They all come out crazier than the last. One of Tom's followers voices, but then realizes that Tom is a Gaunt as well. No offense, my lord. None taken. Tom says, waving his hand dismissively. Why do you think I want to kill the man? He brings shame to my name and the great name of Slytherin. I want his body to be cold before the sun rises. Tom says, playing the Heir of Slytherin card. Well, it's more because I want the Gaunt ring, and stealing it may not work. It is the ring of a noble magical family, after all. Who knows what would happen if it were stolen? Better to kill the current lord and take the ring as inheritance. Chapter 69 Murder in the Woods. Before coming to Little Hangleton, Tom sent some elves ahead of him to locate the Gaunt shack. They were also instructed to find out if Morphin was home or not. Mimsy. Tom calls. Pop. Yes, master. Mimsy heeds Tom's call eagerly. Have you found the Gaunt shack? Tom asks. Yes, and master's uncle is there as well. She says happily. Good, are there any wards around the shack? Tom asks and Mimsy nods gravely as her expression becomes annoyed. Them wards is horrible. Mimsy almost lost an arm just walking by the shack. Mimsy says and points to her arm which has a cut on it. Sorry about your arm, but thanks for the good work, Mimsy. Tom says as he pats her bald head. Why don't you show Briar where the shack is and then go take a rest? We'll handle everything from here. He says and Mimsy nods her head and drags Briar away into the forest. When Briar returned, they all went to peek at the shack from a safe distance. They made sure not to tip off Tom's Uncle Morphin of their presence. The shack itself is a piece of shit, even worse than the Weasley home. The place looked like the evil witch's house in some sort of children's story. No, it looked like a condemned witch's house. It just radiated a dark evil witch house aura. Tom examined the wards and found them to be very malicious but not too hard to crack. Ever since Tom had to go and rescue Drusilla, he's been reading up on wards and ward breaking. The Gaunts put most of their ward power into attacking whoever was to break in. While that is good, they have barely any ways to block someone from breaching the wards. Tom could easily break through these wards, but he won't as that would look suspicious. He plans to kill Morphin and take the ring through inheritance. His uncle's death shouldn't look magical in nature. Not that the Aurors, who are the Wizarding World's police force, would look too far into the death of someone like Morphin Gaunt. It's best to be careful though. Tom thought as he came up with a plan to kill his uncle. After giving out orders, everyone got into position. Tom was fairly close to the house and everyone else was hiding in the forest 100 meters behind him. The wards on the Gaunt's house don't have anything to stop objects from entering, so Tom found a big rock and threw it at the only unbroken window at the front of the shack. As the rock crashes through the window, Tom could hear banging from the shack along with loud hissing filled with profanity. The door to the shack slams open and an enraged Gaunt comes lumbering out with his wand tightly in hand. Tom shakes the bushes in front of him to draw his uncle's attention and boy does it work like a charm. Morphin sees the bush and starts firing curses while running in Tom's direction. At this point, Tom hasn't fired a single spell, nor will he unless he absolutely has to. The second after he shook the bush, Tom turned and started running towards his followers. Curses fly all over the forest as Tom ducks and weaves away from them. When Morphin gets to the bush, he's met with the sight of a dark figure running away. Of course, this figure is Tom. Tom's uncle gives chase and continues to fire curse after curse at him. Even a few unforgivables were shot in his direction along with a large list of other curses. Say what you want about how crazy and inbred the Gaunts are, but at least they know their dark magic and curses. Tom thought as every curse in the book is being fired at him along with a few he has never heard of before. As Tom meets up with his followers with his uncle hot on his tail, each of his followers aims a crossbow in Morphin's direction. Before breaking the window to lure out his uncle, Tom transfigured some rocks into crossbows. This way the cause of death will be blamed on Muggles and not him. He even went so far as to have his followers whittle their own crossbow bolts. Who knows if transfigured bolts would leave evidence behind. Either way, Tom would do his best to not leave behind any evidence whatsoever. As Tom gets behind the line of crossbow-wielding Slytherins, they wait for Morphin to appear in range, and as he does they all fire in his direction. Hand-whittled bolts shoot from the bows and soar into Morphin Gaunt's direction. Tom's uncle seemed to have noticed the line of bowmen and conjures a shield. Protego, he hisses and waves his wand. The bolts are met by an invisible shield and fall to the ground without hitting their mark. Stupid Muggles think you can anger the House of Gaunt, do you? He hisses venomously as his shield disappears and all the arrows have hit the floor. Yes, actually. I did, Tom replies as an arrow strikes Morphin directly on the side of his head. The bolt goes through the head easily and pokes out the other side. Morphin's cocky face freezes in place as a hail of other bolts start striking his body. Morphin hisses for the last time as he's turned into a pincushion and falls to the ground in a puddle of his own blood. The first wave of bolts was only a distraction for the second group of followers hidden under Notice Me Not charms. They are positioned in the trees to the right of the distraction group. Good work, everyone, Tom says as he looks uncaringly at the body of his uncle. We may have been related, but it's not like I knew him. Also, he is practically a Nazi of the wizard variety. No use crying over someone like that. He shrugs and addresses his followers. Collect every bolt fired without leaving behind any evidence. Remember that this has to look like a group of Muggles killing a wizard. Everyone gets to work and Tom stares longingly at the ring on his uncle's finger. No, leave it behind, Tom thought as he looks away from the ring. I'll get it upon his death anyway, but I will have to wait until I can become a lord, which won't happen until graduation. Should I just take it now? Chapter 70, Daddy. Tom thought for a minute and decided not to rush into things. He could leave the ring for now and take it when the time was right. At first, Tom thought of separating the stone from the ring and leaving the ring behind, but he doesn't want to risk it. It may be from a backward inbred family, but it's still a lord ring for a noble wizarding family. It's not like anyone knows about the stone. I'll go to Gringotts after hearing about the horrible death of my uncle and take up my heirship of the Gaunt family. While I'm there, I'll make sure they have the Lord ring. Tom thought as he gave the resurrection stone one last longing look. Around him, Tom could see his followers have finished collecting the bolts from in and around Morphin's body. All right, everyone head home and get rid of the bolts along with any evidence of this night. That includes your clothes and shoes. Burn them or vanish them. I don't care as long as they're disposed of properly. Tom says, and he could hear some of the graduates protesting about their clothes. Especially the shoes. Mainly from the women, but a few men looked upset as well. Just do as I say, okay? I want nothing to remain of this night. Now get a move on and leave. As everyone is leaving, Tom stays behind to make sure everyone makes it out without a problem. With everyone gone, Tom could hear a group of muggles making their way towards him. Mimsy. He whispers as he casts a notice me not on himself. Pop. Yes, master. She appears with a pop and answers Tom's call in a high-pitched chipper attitude. Normally, nobody would be able to see him, but Mimsy is linked to Tom as all of his elves are. He could never hide from any of them as they could sense him easily. Even under a Fidelius charm, they could find him without a problem. Keep it down and hide yourself. We're going to be watching what these muggles do. Tom said as he wanted to make sure they wouldn't steal the ring. It would probably just return to Gringotts on its own, but it's best to be careful anyway. Mimsy listens to Tom's orders and disappears from sight. After a few moments, Muggle police officers along with some people from the village came walking into view. You said the lights were coming from this direction, Lord Riddle? A policeman asks a tall and handsome man with black hair and dark eyes. He has a sneer on his well-angled face as he looked at the area leading up to the Gaunt shack. His expression worsens as memories of an ugly witch appear in his mind. Oh, is that my father? Tom thought as he looks at the scene before him. Yeah, it's probably the Gaunts again. Thank God only one of them remains. Hopefully, the last will get himself killed and we won't have to worry about the trash polluting the village any further. Tom Sr. says in a snobbish attitude. Well, there is my son as well, but hopefully, he's dead by now. I can't believe that woman would name her hellspawn after me. What an insult. As Tom's father is thinking this, Tom was using legilimency on him. He heard everything his father thought. What a dick. Tom though, but he doesn't really care about his father. The old Tom Riddle part of his soul is angry and wants his father dead, while the Gregory part sees it as something not worth bothering with. In this instance, Tom decided to just let his father go. If he knew about me all this time, then he had his chance to be a part of my life. Also, based on his thoughts, the man is a spoiled, snobbish prick. Tom has no time for these types of people. Yeah, you don't want to know how many times I've been called for these nut jobs. Another policeman laughs and suddenly trips on something. Looking to see what he tripped on, the officer is met with the mangled body of Morphin Gaunt. Holes filled his body as blood still leaked from them even now. Ah! The officer screams and scrambles backward. Why are you screaming? Tom Sr. asks as he looks over to see a bloody officer along with the dead body of Morphin. The second Tom Sr. saw the body he turned and vacated his stomach onto the forest floor. Well, now we know what the commotion was about. A more veteran policeman says as he walks over to observe the body. When Tom Sr. finished vomiting and got himself under control, a truly happy smile spread over his face. The last of the pesky Gaunts was dead. No more crazy backwoods inbreds resided in his village. While the police were doing their work, Tom was about to leave, but then something troubling happened. Hey, is that a ring on his finger? Where did the Gaunts get such a fine piece of jewelry from? Tom Sr. says as he eyes the ring for a moment. No idea, is it real? A policeman answers. Yeah, it looks real. Tom Sr. observes for a moment and nods his head. Definitely real. Stolen then, I assume. The veteran officer says from a few meters away. Would you mind if my family holds onto it until the owner is found? If none is found after a few months, I'll keep it and make a nice donation to your department. Tom Sr. offers, and no one seemed to mind. He is the lord of a prestigious family, so he has some leeway with the police. Merope said that ring was passed down in their family for generations. No owner will be found and I'll just keep it. After what that witch put me through, giving a ring is the least that family could do to compensate me. Every officer agreed and gave him the ring. Tom's face contorted for a moment as this happened, but then he thought about it. If the ring doesn't magically return to Gringotts, I'll just come back to Little Hangleton and take the ring back. Tom thought that this may be a fairly good outcome. He knows where the Riddles live and stealing from Muggles would be like taking candy from a baby. Seeing his father brought a thought to his mind though. The Riddle family is related to Lufay and Pendragon. Should he do something about them? What if another Riddle child is born with magic? That's unlikely to happen but could still cause some problems later on. I'll think this over before doing anything. Tom thought as he looked over at Mimsy and whispered. Let's leave before any Aurors show up. Chapter 71 Gringotts Again. Once Tom returned to Camartage, he tasked Mimsy with bringing him the newspaper for the Daily Prophet every day. He was looking for any news of his Uncle Morphin's death. He needed an excuse to go to Gringotts after all. He also thought about sending an elf to keep an eye on his father, but Little Hangleton is probably swarming with Aurors by now. Although, that may not be the case as no one really liked the Gaunts. I guess it depends on how the Aurors operate or if they have the manpower to investigate. There is a giant war going on right now. Tom thought as he drifts off to sleep. A few days after the murder of his uncle, Tom was reading the paper and still hasn't seen anything about Morphin's death. With a sigh, he folds the paper and throws it away. Why hasn't anyone announced his death yet? Tom is starting to get annoyed with how slow the prophet is being. Suddenly, a Gringotts owl flew through his open window and dropped a letter in front of him. What does a luck want? Tom grabs the letter, opens it, and reads it over. At least the goblins are efficient. Unlike the prophet. A smile appears on his face as he finished reading the letter. Where the prophet failed, the goblins came through for him. The letter stated the death of his uncle Morphin Gaunt. A luck wanted to have a meeting pertaining to the assets of the Gaunt family along with Tom's succession as the heir. With Morphin gone, Tom can take up the heirship without worry. Before he would have been removed from the family because of his half-blood status, but now no one can do that. Tom didn't bother writing a response and opened a portal to an alley outside the Leaky Cauldron. He left the owl in his room to rest for the long journey back. He would have saved the bird a trip and took him, but he would rather not reveal his portal ability. Legilimency can be used on animals as well. After making his way through the back of the Leaky Cauldron, Tom tapped the bricks in all the right spots. The wall opened up and Tom could see the busy streets of Diagon Alley. He didn't bother with anyone and went straight into Gringotts. He would have popped over with Mimsy, but Camartage is a bit far for Mimsy to take him to Gringotts in one trip. As he walked in, Tom went to a teller and asked to speak to his account manager, Aluck. The goblin didn't recognize him but escorted Tom to a meeting room nonetheless. After waiting a few minutes, Aluck comes in with a happy sneer on his face. What are you so happy about, Aluck? Tom asks. Morphin Gaunt is dead. You have no idea how annoying your family has been to us goblins. Aluck says as he takes a seat. No offense, of course. Also, you have a new airship to take up. Although the Gaunts were poor, they did own a few properties. Just don't expect anything great. Good, I would like to take up my airship now, but before that, how did my uncle die? Tom asked with fake curiosity. Luck went on to explain all he knew about Morphin Gaunt's death. He said that the Aurors think it was a group of muggles. They tested the area for ambient magic, but every bit of magic belonged to Morphin himself. That along with the crossbow wounds lead them towards muggles as the best suspects. Have you received his lord's ring yet? Tom asked with real curiosity this time. Wait a moment and I'll let you know. Luck says and waves his hand. A box appears in Luck's hands. He opens it and peeks inside. No, we don't have it, but I can contact the Aurors and see if they took it as evidence. If they did, we just have to wait until the investigation is over. Alright, but what if it was stolen? Tom asks. Then we would notify the Aurors and search for the culprit ourselves for a price, of course. Most Lord and Heir rings are enchanted to return to their vaults after death, but the Gaunts didn't have that. If it can't be found, you'll have to get a new one made, I'm afraid. Although, anything would be better than a cheap Gaunt ring. All okay, says with a laugh. Oh, you don't know the worth of that cheap Gaunt ring, Luck. Tom thought with a wry smile. Alright, I'll take up the airship now. Once I've left, send a letter to the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. Ask about the ring on behalf of the heir of the Gaunt family, but don't reveal my name. Tom orders and Luck agrees with a nod. Tom wants to let the Aurors investigate before taking any action. Who knows what they have at their disposal to find the ring? If he takes the ring early and the Aurors find him with it, he'll become suspect number 1 in the death of his uncle. With that out of the way, Tom reaches over the table and grabs the box with the Gaunt heir ring. A quick warning before you place the ring on. Luck says as he stops Tom from opening the box. What? Tom replies. The Gaunts may not have enchanted the ring to return, but they are very malicious towards tainted blood. They may have enchanted the ring to not accept someone such as yourself. Luck warns. You mean a half-blood? Tom replies. Yes, but who knows whatever malicious enchantments could be on the ring. Luck adds. He's right. For all I know, putting on this ring will rot my arm off. Tom decided to follow his account manager's advice. Can I delay taking up the airship and take the ring for a few days? Yeah, I don't see that being a problem, but return it as soon as possible. You may be a Gaunt, but you haven't taken up the airship yet. The ring won't truly belong to you until it's on your hand. Luck agrees and Tom bids him farewell. Once Tom is out of Gringotts, he finds an abandoned alley and opens a portal to Camartage. Time to study the enchantments on this ring, Tom thought as he opens the box and takes a seat. Chapter 72 Death in the Family. While staring at the Gaunt family ring, Tom drew upon the eldritch energy and formed runic symbols around it. The glowing gold symbols circle the ring, analyzing every bit of magic flowing inside. The spell Tom used is a simple analysis spell that everyone is taught in Camartage. It would take a bit to finish, but Tom had the time to spare. While waiting for the ring to be fully analyzed, Tom went back to studying. His perfect recall has made memorizing the books extremely easy. Since he's been studying up on everything Muggle science related, Tom decided to turn one of his properties into his lab/workspace for everything. First, he needed to look through his properties and find the best one for the job. The one that screamed the perfect secret lair was a Lu Fei property called Getaway Manor. The place is a hidden manor built into the White Cliffs of Dover. The place was magically hidden and perfect for any supervillainous needs. Tom sent some elves there to clean the place out and make room for the tech he plans to outfit it with. Everything valuable like books and other items has already been moved and stored away in Slytherin Manor. While some elves were getting the secret lair ready, Tom sent another group of elves on an important mission. The mission was fairly simple. They would go to Stark Industries and steal as much tech for Tom to use as possible. Tom also sent some elves to Howard Stark's personal workspace to take everything as well. He's had elves watching Stark for a while, so they know where everything is. This decision wasn't a hard one to make. Howard is filthy rich and could easily replace anything that's taken from him. Just to be safe, Tom had them take everything to an undisclosed location that won't link back to him or his followers. The reason he did this is the possibility of trackers. It's unlikely to happen, but he has to remember that this is the Marvel Universe. Almost anything is possible, so it's best to be careful. Everything will be searched and then popped over to Getaway Manor. Because magic doesn't mix well with technology, Tom will have to open everything up and fix it. Although, they'll be stealing more than just tech. Is that a thing in this universe though? I haven't spent much time around technology to know if it's true. If it is, would my having magic mess with the super soldier procedure? Tom thought with slight worry. If the tech would fail because of his magic in the middle of the experiment, Tom could very well end up like the Red Skull. I would rather not ruin my handsome face like that. Tom thought as images of himself with a red scabby face appeared in his mind. I may have to look into what happens when magic mixes with Muggle technology. That may not be a thing in this universe though. If it is, then I may have to find a way to allow magic to work with tech. I guess I'll find out when the stolen Stark tech arrives. While the elves were working hard to clear out my new lair and hoard everything they can from Stark, Tom received a letter stating that the Aurors would look into the whereabouts of the Gaunt Ring. Apparently, it would take time as most of the Aurors are busy due to the current war going on. They were so busy in fact, that they didn't bother asking the name of the Gaunt heir, which a luck wouldn't have given anyway. Tom decided to not sit back and just take the stone from the ring. If what a luck says is true, the Gaunt Ring has no way to be tracked. Why bother waiting anymore when he could just take it now without any consequences? I doubt the Aurors will make finding a ring a priority at the moment anyway. Tom thought as he opened a portal to Little Hangleton. Under a Notice Me Not charm, Tom went to find the Riddle residence. It wasn't hard to find as they were the only filthy rich nobles in the entire village. The house was giant and could probably house every person in the small village comfortably. No other house in the entire place was even half the size of Riddle Manor. Tom simply walked in without anyone noticing, using a quick Alhambra to unlock any doors. Searching the house, Tom found his father's room. After searching the room, Tom found a lot of jewelry, but none were the ring he's been looking for. After searching the house a bit, Tom found a butler and used legilimency on him. His father had left to see a doctor because of some horrible sickness he contracted. It was so bad that they rushed him outside the house to see a special doctor that doesn't do house calls. The annoying thing about all of this is that the man has been wearing the ring ever since he pilfered it off old Morphin's body. Now I have to go and find wherever this doctor is. Tom thought with a bit of annoyance. Wait, could the sickness be caused by the Gaunt Ring? It certainly wouldn't take kindly to being placed on the hand of a Muggle. Whatever, hopefully the bastard dies and I can take the stone. I'll just leave the ring behind for any Aurors that may come looking. After searching through the butler's mind for the location of the doctor, Tom found out the place was in the next town over. When he finally arrived, he went into a moderately sized house and found something truly disgusting. In a patient bed in the back of the house is Lord Riddle, Tom's father. His skin is completely black with rot and the smell in the room is truly horrible. Tom Sr. is already dead, but the look of horror on his frozen face says he didn't go out peacefully. Damn, talk about karma. I'm definitely never touching that ring. No, scratch that. I'm not even going to touch the stone either. At least not until I've had it analyzed. Best to be safe than sorry. Tom thought as he feels the urge to vacate his stomach. The doctor stood over Tom Sr. with a shocked face. He has no idea what happened to his patient and he's starting to worry about some sort of new plague outbreak. Tom waits until everyone leaves the room and walks up to the body. Of course, he's still under the notice me not just to be safe. See you in hell, old man. Tom thought as he levitated the gaunt ring from his father's black finger. He then uses some eldritch runes to separate the stone from the ring. Once Tom has the stone, he levitates the ring back onto his father's finger. With the stone floating in front of him, Tom looked for anything that can be used to house it for now. After seeing what happened to his father, he has no intention to come into contact with anything that was attached to the ring. After finding a small jewelry box, Tom stole it and placed the stone inside. Closing the box, Tom opened a portal and returns to Camartage. 1 down and 2 to go. Chapter 73, Super Secret Villainous Lair. The second Tom took possession of one of the 3 deathly hallows, the Resurrection Stone, he drew the attention of the embodiment of death, Lady Death herself. Death was born along with the universe itself and the other cosmic entities associated with it. Whereas eternity embodies life and growth, death embodies decay and destruction. As she is a fundamental force, she has no true physical form but can manifest in such a form as to interact with physical entities. Although she usually appears as a human or human skeleton, presumably she appears to other species in their own forms. Death rarely speaks aloud. Her presence alone can usually convey the message. Death makes her home in the realm of death, a dimension normally inaccessible to the living. It's here that she noticed the new owner of the Resurrection Stone. She regrets making the hallows, but a deal is a deal and she's a woman of her word. Although, she got the last laugh in the end. She always does. She took the souls of all 3 brothers and sent them to an eternity of torture in the afterlife. Except for the 3rd brother, of course. He was a bit more well put together than his siblings. As if you can cheat death and get away with it. Even the 3rd brother died in the end. When Lady Death saw that the stone had a new owner, she thought it would be another crazy gaunt. She was pleasantly surprised when she saw it was a sorcerer that took the stone. Not only was he a sorcerer, but a wizard as well. This made her look deeper into who this person was and her interest was piqued. 2 souls merged and one of them crossed over into this universe somehow. Even Death herself didn't know how that happened. I'll keep an eye on this one. Maybe he'll bring the hallows together. Once Tom returned, he placed the stone under the same analysis as the gaunt air ring. Though the stone is much more complex than the ring, so it may take longer to analyze. While the analysis was still going for the ring and the stone, Tom went to work on his new lair. The elves had already cleared out Getaway Manor and stolen everything they could from Stark. Mimsy. Tom called and Mimsy appears before him. Pop. Yes, Master. Mimsy said energetically. Take me to everything that was stolen from Stark. Tom orders and Mimsy popped him to the location. When he arrived, he was met with an abandoned warehouse filled with everything he could possibly need. From early-day computers to miscellaneous lab supplies. They even took the pens, papers, staples, and everything that was laying around. Tom then ordered his elves to take everything apart and look for trackers. Though they had no idea what to look for, so it was Tom that was actually looking. It took all night with the help of the elves to search for trackers, and it was smart to do so. Tom and the elves found 7 separate pieces of tech with trackers hidden inside. While checking the tech, he found that he now owns everything that was used in the Captain America experiment, which will come in handy later on. Once everything was checked and then checked again, Tom had the elves start transporting everything to the lair. He then ordered them to sort it all and categorize it for him to see what he now owns. That took some time, so while the elves worked, Tom tested the tech for any problems. The problem with this is Getaway Manor has no electricity. He can't even plug in a lamp if he wanted to. Seeing that this would be a problem, Tom had to come up with some sort of solution. He can't just call someone and have them connect his secret lair to the power grid. That would give away the whole secret part of the lair. What to do? Tom thought as he pondered over his options. As he was thinking of complicated ways to set up portals and steal electricity, a thought came to his mind. How does Camartage stay off the grid and have electricity? He thought and decided to ask his teacher. After a quick trip to Camartage, Tom found the Ancient One instructing some sorcerers on meditation. She was playing the part of the serious sorceress supreme and impressing everyone with her knowledge. Once she finished her class, Tom pulled her aside and started asking questions about the electricity. If you want to know, you'll have to pay the same price as last time, she says with a smirk as her bald head shines in the light. All right. One secret, right? I want a bit more for this secret though, Tom says, as this isn't worth a high-level secret. All right, what do you want? She asks. I want your help with setting up the electricity in my secret lair, Tom says, and his teacher looks at him funny. Secret lair? Seriously? She says as she wonders why she took in this student. Yeah, secret lair. It's really cool, right? Tom says with a smile on his face. Yeah, cool. She responds with sarcasm, but Tom doesn't notice as he's too happy about his lair. Do you agree? Tom asks, and the Ancient One nods her head. All right, here's your second high-level secret. My super-secret lair is in the White Cliffs of Dover. Feel free to stop by whenever you want, Tom says, as she will have to come to help set up the electricity. That is a high-level secret? I need to know that to help with the electricity. You just told me something I would already know later, she says with annoyance in her voice. Hey, the deal was for a high-level secret. What's more high-level than the location of my secret lair? Tom says with a smirk. I hate you. Let's go and hook the electricity up. I'll teach you how it's done while we work, she says with a sigh, and they open a portal to Tom's lair. Hey, do you know why magic interferes with technology? Tom asked as they appear in his lair filled with stolen tech from Stark. Yes, but that would cost you again, she says with a shark-like grin. Why are you so stingy? I've already paid today. Chapter 74, Bald Electrician. While Tom was pondering over whether to reveal another secret or not, the Ancient One was looking over all of his stolen equipment. Where did you get all of this? She asks. I bought it, Tom says, taking a moment to come up with a good excuse. Really, from where? She continues to question. From a couple of different places. Can we start hooking up my electricity now? Tom tried to change the subject. The Ancient One could tell that her student was lying. Not only because she can tell when he lies to her, but because almost everything here has a Stark Industries logo on it. She was about to let it go when she saw something that definitely wasn't purchased. Is that the equipment from the super soldier experiment? She says as she points to the pod that Steve Rogers once stood in. Yeah? Tom says as he regrets not hiding everything before inviting her over. Can we get to the electric now? I need to set this stuff up so I can start figuring out which machine does what. The Ancient One simply sighed at her student. She couldn't help but worry about his future. Would her student turn into some horrible villain? Probably not, but I should make sure to guide him toward the right path. She decided to let it go for now. Stealing isn't that villainous anyway. I've commandeered a few things in my day as well. The Ancient One then spent the rest of the day showing Tom a set of runes used for producing electricity. They then set up outlets around the lair with these runes engraved on them. Won't this ruin any technology plugged into it? Tom asks as he points to the outlets. The electricity is made by magic after all. No, and if you pay the price I'll tell you why that is. His teacher replies as her bald head shines with greed. Fine. Tom agrees as he starts muttering once again about his stingy, old, bald, and greedy teacher. The Ancient One's eyebrow twitches as she grows closer and closer to losing control. The punishment for all these insults would come in due time. Images of Tom begging her forgiveness appeared in her mind and calmed her stewing anger. I've already told you that I'm the heir of Slytherin, so I'll tell you one of my other heirships. Tom says as these are secrets he really doesn't mind the Ancient One knowing. I'm the heir of Le Fay through the Muggle half of my family. You're a descendant of that woman? She replies with venom in her voice. Yeah, were you guys enemies or something? Tom asks. That woman was horrible. If I could go back in time to kill someone as a baby, it would be Morgana Le Fay. She did some very horrible things that I had to clean up. The worst of it all is she found a way to extend her lifespan, so I had to deal with her for a long time. The Ancient One says in annoyance. Huh? Is Morgana still alive? Tom asks with a bit of worry. Would she be happy that I'm her heir? No, she died long before you were born. I had to wait 500 years to have the pleasure of separating her head from her shoulders. The idiot girl tried to portal away when she knew I was there, but I opened a portal in front of hers. When she flew through the portal head first thinking she would escape, I closed it and severed her head clean off. It is one of my fondest memories. She says with a cruel smile on her face. Women are scary. Tom thought as he decided not to anger his teacher for a while. After telling one of his secrets, Tom received a lesson on energies that could disrupt technology and the way to protect against it. Not all energy disrupts Muggle technology, like Eldritch energy for example. Eldritch energy won't interfere with technology at all, but wizard-type magical energy is the worst match for electric-powered tech. In order to protect against his own energy ruining the newly acquired equipment, the Ancient One taught him a bunch of runes for the job. The runes will protect the tech and all he has to do is carve them onto every machine. That would take some time, but it shouldn't be too hard. When the Ancient One left, the lair had multiple outlets in every room. All of them are powered by runes, so Tom is completely off the grid. His future experiments will require a lot of power as well, so having these outlets is great. When Erskine and Stark turned Steve into Captain America, the whole of Brooklyn lost power due to them drawing in so much of it. Tom doesn't have to worry about that though, as he has magically produced electricity. He could conduct 100 super soldier procedures and never run out of power. Now I have to get to work engraving all of this new equipment with runes. Tom sighed as he looked at the huge pile of machines. Every one of them needs runes engraved on them down to the last calculator. Not only do they need runes, but they also need to be fixed as well. The elves use magic for almost everything, and magic was definitely used in their heist, which means every machine they brought isn't functional. I guess this is a good way to get to know each piece of tech. I also need to become accustomed to creating machinery, so this isn't so bad. Tom thought as he starts with the easier tech like lamps and calculators. After fixing a lamp that was probably on some Stark employee's desk, Tom carved the runes on it and plunged it in. He then flipped the switch and the light turned on as it's supposed to. I fixed a lamp. In both of his lives, Tom has never fixed any piece of technology, except changing light bulbs, but even a monkey can do that. Now I just have to work my way upwards. Tom thought as he stared at the equipment that turned Steve Rogers into Captain America. Before moving on to the next thing, Tom levitated the lamp for a moment and set it down again. The light stayed on and it's still working perfectly. The light didn't even flicker as his magic levitated the lamp. Good, now I don't have to worry about my tech malfunctioning, Tom thought happily. Tom then grabs another lamp and gets to work. Soon he would work his way up to higher level stuff, but for now, it's baby steps until he gets there. While Tom was working on the equipment in his super secret lair, the golden analysis runes circling the gaunt air ring froze in place mid-air. They would stay this way until Tom's return. Chapter 75, Back to Hogwarts. Tom didn't even put a dent in the large pile of equipment. He spent the whole day just fixing the low-level stuff. Although, working with Muggle technology is giving him more confidence in himself. Before working on the lamps and stuff, he had zero confidence that he could actually build something. Now he is starting to pick up on what goes where and how everything works. He still has a layman's skill when it comes to these things, but he will work his way up until he could rival any Stark. When Tom returned to his room in Camartage, he was about to get in bed and pass out, but then he saw the runes above the gaunt air ring. They stopped moving and froze hovering above the ring. This is the sign that it's finished analyzing the ring. Tom takes a piece of paper from his desk and touches it to the floating runes. The runes soak into the paper and writing begins to appear. When the last of the writing appears on the paper, the golden runes that once hovered over the ring disappeared. Tom reads over the paper and thanks whatever gods are in this universe that he didn't place this ring on his finger. The ring was filled with curses that would be placed on someone not of pure blood. Things like causing his skin to rot to other things like erectile dysfunction. The ring is filled with horrible curses and Tom will never place it on his finger. At least not until he can find a way to remove the curses. Tom doesn't know how to remove the curses yet, so he closes the ring inside its box and sets it as far away from him as possible. He then does his normal magic drain, which is getting harder and harder because of how much magic he now has, and gets to sleep. The second his head touched the pillow, Tom passes out due to exhaustion. The next day, Tom returned the ring to Gringotts along with a list of all the curses on it. He didn't want a luck to stupidly touch the ring and get cursed. He'll come and get the ring when he knows how to remove the curses. This summer has been one of the more busy times of Tom's life. He actually found himself looking forward to the calm time he will spend in Hogwarts once summer ends. At the end of summer, Tom received yet another report of Captain America. He's still touring the US and filling Uncle Sam's vault for the big war. At this point, even the elves could see that Steve was getting fed up with peddling war bonds. The man is a super soldier that never got to see the war. He only appears in shows still because he feels as though he's helping fund the war, which he definitely is. Captain America is the biggest celebrity in the United States at the moment. He's handsome, strong, and portrayed as a superhero even when he isn't. Well, he will be very soon. The American people needed a figure to look up to in this time of war, and the good captain filled that role perfectly. One thing that did catch Tom's eye is the news of Captain America scheduling a Christmas show for the American soldiers stationed in Italy. It would be his first show that wasn't for normal civilians. This should be his last show. Tom thought as he recalled the movie. Bucky should be captured and he goes to save him. It's good that it will happen over Christmas break. Maybe I'll lend a helping hand and introduce myself while I'm at it. The whole summer was spent studying and repairing the stolen Stark tech. As he moved higher and higher up the ladder of machinery, the speed at which he could repair them slowed considerably. He was still making headway, but he needed to know how the machine worked before fixing it, so most of his time is now spent taking apart things and studying them. After he's studied them enough, Tom would then get working on fixing it and putting it back together with the runes engraved. On the train ride to Hogwarts, Tom sat in a compartment with Drusilla and Charles. They talked about classes and whatever they did over the summer. Of course, Tom would lie as he can't say any of the things he did. As the train took off, a knock could be heard at the door. "Come in." Charles calls and the door swings open. On the other side of the door is what looks like a young Minerva McGonagall. She hesitantly enters the compartment and greets everyone. "Hello, I'm Minerva. Would you mind if I joined you?" she asks in her Scottish accent, surveying the room for any disagreements. "Sure, we don't mind, do we?" Tom says, and neither of his companions disagrees. "I'm Tom Riddle and these are my friends Drusilla Rosier." He then motions to Drusilla. "And the gallant Charles Potter." Next he motions toward Charles, who scoffs at him. "Gallant?" Charles asks. "All heroes are gallant, aren't they? You are a Gryffindor, after all. Would you rather I called you something else? Maybe rash or pig-headed?" Tom asks with a teasing grin. "No, gallant is good." Charles answers with a nod of his head as he ignores Tom's teasing. The rest of the ride was spent integrating Minerva into the group. She'll become a master in transfiguration, so Tom thought befriending her would be good. Especially before Dumbledore gets his claws in her. Tom doesn't have much planned for this year at school. He has to visit the captain during the winter break, but he wants to spend his school time in peace for a while. This summer has been exciting enough for him. Although, he does have one thing that needs to get done this year. The Potters have a deathly hallow and Tom needs to find out where that hallow is. The cloak of invisibility would be a fine addition to his collection. If it could truly hide him from beings like death, then he wants it as soon as possible. It's a good thing Tom has spent his school days befriending the Potter heir, isn't it? The question now is how will he get the information from his friend? He could try legilimency, but a family like the Potters definitely train their children in occlumency. Would he have the cloak? Tom thought as he eyes his friend Charles carefully. While Tom was pondering over this, the train came to a stop and they arrived at yet another year of Hogwarts. Chapter 76 Integration. When they arrived at Hogwarts, the first years were sorted as always. Minerva was sorted into Gryffindor just as she was in canon. She took her seat beside Charles since she doesn't know anyone else in Gryffindor yet. When the Slytherins returned to the common room, Slughorn welcomed the first years as he always does. As Slughorn left the common room after his little speech, the Slytherin Council called a meeting to bring in the second years as usual. Once everyone had arrived, Tom brought everyone into the mirror dimension. There the second years were brought into the fold. This year a few of them actually challenged him to a fight, which was amusing. With his current magic reserves and skill, Tom could easily take on a high-level duelist by now. Although, he isn't sure how he would fare against opponents like Dumbledore and Grindelwald. With the pace he's advancing at, he'll hopefully be on their level when the time comes to face Grindelwald. Once every single one of the second years swore their oath and received a mark, Tom had an announcement. "All right, listen up." Tom called, drawing everyone's attention. "This year I have some objectives for all of you. You are to start befriending the other houses. Most houses have good relations with us now, but we need to start forming connections. Even Gryffindors are starting to warm up to us nowadays." Tom says, and a few people grumble, but a glare from him shuts them up quickly. "Once you've befriended some students from other houses, invite them to eat at our table or eat at theirs. We must integrate ourselves into the other houses. Does anyone have questions or ideas on how to go about this?" Tom asks, surveying the crowd. "What if we start clubs and invite the other houses to join as well?" Drusilla speaks up. That's a good idea. Tom says with a nod. We'll start a study club, book club, sports club, and whatever else you can think of that can draw people to join. Druella, since this is your idea, you're in charge of setting it all up. If you need any extra hands, which you probably will, feel free to command any of my followers. A proud smile forms on Druella's face. She's excited about this new development. School has been dreadfully boring ever since Tom started teaching her. With this new club job, she'll actually have something to do this year. Any more questions or ideas? Tom asks and no one spoke up. After taking care of his followers, Tom released them back into the common room. Everyone went to sleep as the long train ride tired them out. The next day, the Slytherins started mingling with the other houses. Some already had friendly connections with people in other houses, so they invited them to eat breakfast with them or ate at their table. Others that didn't have connections tried to mingle with other houses during classes or in the hallways. Watching some of these Slytherins try to make friends with the other houses was very entertaining to Tom. This is Tom's 5th year, which means he has to take the Ordinary Wizarding Level (OWL) exams to determine whether he can achieve a score high enough to continue to Newt Level, nastily exhausting wizarding test, that will take place in the 7th year. Those who don't do well on their OWLs will usually graduate early in the 5th year. They don't have to graduate early, but the Newts are supposed to be way harder than the OWLs. Spending 2 more years in school just to fail the Newts in 7th year isn't a fun experience, which is why students with low scores are encouraged to graduate early. Although, Tom doesn't have to worry about this until the end of the school year. It's not like he'll fail anyway. Throughout his 5 years at Hogwarts, Tom has been number 1 in every class. The OWLs will be nothing for him. A week into the school year, Druella and a few other students announced the forming of certain clubs. Every house was welcome to join and participate in club activities. A bunch of clubs were added to the list and Tom was impressed. Things he didn't think of like cooking club, foreign language club, photography club, and art history club were added to the list among others. Due to having so many clubs, Druella had to get permission from Headmaster Dippet. The headmaster had no problems with starting clubs like this as it would promote unity between different houses. The only club that exists in Hogwarts now is the Slug Club, and Slughorn only accepts the best of the best. Dippet thought having clubs that accepted anyone would be good for the school. The castle was more than big enough to give space to each new club, so there was no problem there. The only problem was funding, which was easily solved by a generous donation from an anonymous source, which was Tom, obviously. Throughout the week of Hogwarts, Tom has been trying to find a way into the Gryffindor common room. It's about time he searched for the Cloak of Invisibility. Hopefully, Charles has it with him, or else Tom will have to start searching Potter properties. He couldn't find a secret way in, so he simply stole the password from a first-year's mind. It was easy as the kid was a muggle born without any shields. Before performing his heist, Tom had to come up with a plan. The painting of the fat lady will log him as someone who entered, so he needs to disguise himself or he'll be caught. Tom could just wear a mask, but that will definitely tip off the painting and anyone else in the Gryffindor common room. Before doing anything, Tom opened a portal and left the school. He went to Slytherin Manor to speak to Mimsy since he can't call her into the school. Mimsy. Tom called and Mimsy appeared with a pop. Yes, master. Mimsy said gleefully as she doesn't get to see her master much when he returns to school. Do we have any cloaks of invisibility lying around? Tom asks and Mimsy thinks for a moment before popping away. Like this? Mimsy says as she appears in the room again along with a bunch of cloaks. Tom looks them over and picks one that looked good. It looks similar enough to the one in the movie, so it may work for the switch. Tom thought as he eyes the cloak. It don't have much magic left in it, but it should last a few more years. Mimsy says as she can feel the magic in the cloak. Tom puts on the cloak to test it and disappears from Mimsy's sight. Of course, she can still feel where he is as they are connected. This is perfect. Thanks, Mimsy. Tom says as he takes the cloak off and opens a portal back to Hogwarts. This marks the end of part 9 of the story, I'm Voldemort. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe the video to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.